Hey guys, just one more video while I'm sitting around on a rainy day. I wanted to talk to you guys about something. I talk a big game about the system and how it's screwed up. We need a better economic system. Hate the player, don't hate the player, hate the game. And, the solutions are obviously a lot more complicated. One thing I wanted to bring up today is just talking about taxation. Our tax system is it's definitely broken. It's crazy that to me that people who are struggling just to meet their basic needs are paying taxes. Why are they paying taxes? Taxes are supposed to go to them to help them achieve equality when they're struggling to do so, rather than them feeding into the system. So that's something that's a little bit broken. And also a big question that I have, and I think these kind of two could go together, is how much is too much? We already have, what is it? I think it's, what is it, Larry Ellison that owns almost all of the Hawaiian island of Lanai. I mean, we're talking about a Hawaiian island, guys. An entire island. When is somebody going to be wealthy enough that they just think, you know, Mozambique, I think I'll just buy myself a country, So it's getting kind of crazy. We have people with, first it was billionaires and tens of billions and hundreds of billions. We're gonna have trillionaires next. Is that where we're headed? I mean, mathematically, we'll definitely get there. So, what about tens of trillions of dollars? What if we get there? The basic math of capitalism points to eventually everybody having nothing, nearly nothing, and somebody having almost everything. It ends kind of like the game of Monopoly. And so, what's too much? Is somebody going to own a whole state, a whole country? You already can own a fairly large size Hawaiian island. So where are we going to draw the limit? One of the things that everybody's always like, these people, they've made billions of dollars and they'll do all this horrible stuff just to make 500 million more. I saw a comment by Bruce the other day on one of my other videos. Obviously there is no limit to how much wealth somebody's going to want to accumulate. Like I said, most of it is fueled after you've become super wealthy. Most of it's just fueled by just raw competition. Right? I mean, if you see yourself on the Forbes list at number 58, are you going to just be like, oh, wow, I did it. I reached 58. My life is complete. You didn't get to that spot on the Forbes list by being uncompetitive. Michael Jordan didn't win a couple of championships and say, oh, well, I'm done. Okay, maybe that's a bad example because he tried to go play baseball. But he did come back. He did come back and he won more championships. So, yes, the hyper competitive that become super wealthy, they are not going to just quit. And even if they do reach number one on the Forbes list and the wealthiest person in the whole entire world, what makes you think that they're going to stop there and be complacent and let somebody else, one of their rivals, take over? That's just never going to happen. So I think one of the things that could be done, and again, all this stuff is kind of wishful thinking, because I've thought long and hard about how all this stuff could be implemented, and really it can't without a complete overhaul of the system, and the overhaul of the system has to come probably by overthrowing government, not working within the confines of how the government works, talking US here. So really dramatic, radical things have to happen for any change like this to take place. But I don't understand why the world can't, and it's got to be global, because anytime you impose something on someone within a country, they just go to another country where that same law doesn't exist. So you're not going to have any effect by just making this a law of some kind in one country. It's got to be global. I'm for the idea of having some kind of global wealth cap. Obviously, there could be unintended consequences anytime you meddle with the system itself, within the confines of the system. it's fraught with danger. There's all kinds of unintended consequences of trying to meddle with the system and kind of introduce these sort of artificial man-made implementations. So yeah, it's a dangerous thing to try to meddle with that, but we have to set a limit. We can't let one person own everything, or 100 people or 1,000 people own everything. We have to put a stop to that, and I think a wealth cap is a great way to do that. And it also stops people from continuing to be super money hungry and trying to maximize all these gains and profits and do all these things once they've reached a certain point. So it kind of like, it stops the competition. You can't one up somebody with money. Now you might be able to one up them by your business being more successful. You could one up them in inventions, humanitarianism, intelligence. Maybe you could have a cage fight in the Colosseum in Italy between your rival over at Facebook, and settle your competitive urges that way. But at least there wouldn't be this like constant competing by trying to make more and more and more money. The down thing about all this money that's accumulated by the super wealthy is it doesn't get put into the economy, right? It's just siphoned off from the economy and sits in the form of net worth. It isn't liquid, isn't it? It isn't being circulated around. It's not being spent, redistributed to restaurants and hotels and airlines and taxis and taxi drivers, and it just stays siphoned off where nobody can touch it. But it comes from the people. It comes from all the people. It doesn't come from thin air per se. It's all hoovered up out of the masses, and then it just sits dormant, making a pretty number next to somebody's name on the Forbes list. So anyway, a wealth cap might solve that. What if we set the limits to, let's say, 100 million? All of your assets and equities and real estate holdings and all those kinds of things caps at $100 million. You can't have more than that. And then there's a distribution for anything that you own above that level, and nobody can ever have more wealth than that. Because it's ridiculous for somebody to have 10 houses and 3 yachts and own an island. And that's extremely immoral for one person to be able to have that many resources that they scoop up and that they hoard, and that's theirs, and it's not shared with anyone else. That's an absolute disgrace. And I'm sure hundreds of years from now, the history books will look back upon that if we're still alive, if we haven't exterminated ourselves by then. That's probably the more likely outcome. But if we haven't exterminated ourselves by then, I think hundreds of years from now, we're going to look back at this time and just be just completely baffled by how such injustice and immorality was so readily accepted and just was part of our society, and everybody was okay with that. We need to be not okay with that and be really upset about the injustice and the socioeconomic inequality. And it's not, it doesn't benefit the wealthy either, per se. I mean, they kind of live in this paranoid bubble and become very antisocial, and kind of everybody treats them differently. I mean, how do why do celebrities go crazy so often and turn to drugs? It's a lot of pressure. All your relationships become incredibly insincere. Everybody's just looking to get something from you, and you lose those real intimate human connections that you used to have. And it's not necessarily a good thing. And there's other things that I could delve into, but it's not good for the super wealthy to be super wealthy either. It's just a cancer on society completely. Anyway. So what about a wealth cap? Why don't we set it at $100 million, and then that's it. You could aim to hit that club, and once you hit 100 million, you join that club, and that's that. You don't have to worry about making any more money. You've already hit the maximum, and any wealth that you generate beyond that is distributed to everyone else. And if maybe they could keep track of how much you've distributed. If you've made billions of dollars that's been disseminated out to the people, hey, people could be rooting you on making all that money. They could want your company to succeed because they'll get some of the proceeds and the benefits. Currently the stock market kind of works like that. If you have stock in a company, you're rooting for the company to maximize profits and do really well, and you make a portion of the proceeds, you make a portion of that profit, and as the value of the company goes up, the value of your stock goes up, and you get to ride those coattails. But only a small percentage of people have disposable income and capital to invest and be able to take advantage of that. And guess what? Those are the people who don't actually need it. The people who need it to basically make ends meet are that money's not accessible to them. So anyway, it's just crazy to me. Just real quick here. I don't want this to go on forever, but my tax bill is usually over 20 grand a year, and which is just crazy because financially, like, things are extremely tight. So we're financially responsible for three people. If you look at what we were paying in Florida when we were living there, if you look at rent and trash, electricity, water, TV, internet, all the various expenses, Hulu, Netflix, etc., almost $2,000 a month, just under. If you look at car payment plus car insurance plus gas, we only had one car for three people over the age of 16, so not super extravagant, just one that we share between the three of us. That's over $600 a month, so we're already at $2,600 a month. And then a couple $100 for phones, that's $2,800. We have about $1,200 a month on food, so maybe $200 a week on groceries plus $100 at restaurants, going out a couple times. So that's maybe like one, halfway decent meal at like a Chili's, and then one like fast food meal. There's $100, boom. So $1,200 was kind of on the low end. A lot of times we spend even more than that. Sometimes we went, lower than that, but $1,200 is pretty reasonable for three people. It's $400 each per month for food. So that puts us up to $4,000. $4,000, and then fortunately, my daughter, her healthcare is covered, so that doesn't cost anything. But my wife's healthcare and mine is not covered by anybody. We're self-employed, so we don't get any kind of employee benefits or anything like that. So I still, at the age of, I'll be 46 next year, no health insurance, never had health insurance. My wife has to have it because of her epilepsy, so the prices are outrageous. We're averaging $15,000 a year for that. So, okay, now we're up over $5,000 a month. We still haven't bought a single T-shirt. Sorry about the electricity going in and out. It's super windy out there. Some trees somewhere bouncing around off the power lines. So we were over $5,000 a month before we spent a single dollar on any kind of clothes, shoes, activities, classes, concerts, anything at all. Vacations, nothing. We spent hundreds of dollars a month averaged out over the year on gifts. So that's at $5,500 a month. So still no activities, entertainment, clothing, unexpected expenses. We're already at $5,500 a month, guys. So it was easy for us to spend over $6,000 a month. That's over $72,000 a year. And so, with a over $20,000 tax bill, that puts me right around needing to make a $95,000 salary just to have, basically live a life, with no vacation at all. That's why I didn't fly on a plane with my wife for the first 12 and a half years we were together. Even though making plenty of money by what used to be my beliefs about how much money needed to be made to live kind of a decent, American life, or what, people consider to be that. So Anyway, it's pretty crazy that I would be taxed that much money when things are that tight. It's crazy. I don't, especially when there's so many other people making so much more. There's millions of Americans that make way more than that just in capital gains every year. So that's not even doing any work or anything whatsoever. Just kind of sitting around and watching that money go out there and make money for you. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy that we passively accept this system. And, again, I think the idea behind it is that it keeps people working and striving towards reaching that pinnacle where you have the extra money, you invest the extra money, and then you get to start living the dream like the wealthy. That seems to keep people pacified enough. The hope of maybe getting there someday seems to keep people, reasonably accepting the existence that we have. But a simple solution like a global wealth cap or something to say, hey, morally as a species, we refuse to let one person harbor and hoard more than X number of, resource units, because ultimately that's what currency is. It's a number of units that you can use to go and buy up various resources in the way of products and services for yourself. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. There's plenty more innovative solutions out there that could help even the playing field a little bit and make the lives of the vast majority of people a little bit less miserable without having too much of a negative impact on the wealthy. Again, they're not even spending these billions of dollars. Mostly it just sits around and has an effect on their net worth, and they might spend extravagantly, but they're not spending billions of dollars a year, just on hedonistic desires that they have. That's not what's happening. That money's just kind of sitting there unavailable to the poor that it was scooped up from, and middle class that it was scooped up from. And really serving no purpose other than pissing people off that they have so much goddamn money while everybody else has shit. So anyway, that's just kind of one solution that's bounced around in my head a lot over the years, but plenty more to discuss on that front. And I would love to hear if you've had ideas kicking around in your head. Let's discuss it. I always try to keep an open discussion. YouTube, can do whatever they want, but I did find like a secret button somewhere that allows all comments without, so that should help. I've heard from someone that, they've seen a couple of comments get erased or something. So that's out of my control, but what's in my control, I've never censored a comment in my life. I'm always trying to foster open debate and discussion. I welcome it. I enjoy it thoroughly. I don't mind being challenged. And I hope, we can do kind of like what a lot of you who've known me for a while, like what we did over 180 Degree Health, where we fostered this really open environment where all kinds of different health-related issues could be discussed. I'd like to extend that to things that are more important than, what percentage of your fat intake comes from polyunsaturated fats or something that is just complete and total minutia in a world that has much bigger problems in need of much more innovative solutions. So that's it for this video. Peace.